Can't tell if this is recording or not. There it is. Hi again, everyone. This video is to talk about essay 2 prompt for those who might still have questions. You can call it up and pause this while you call it up, or if you got it already called up, then let's rock and roll. Of course, it's about the play Amadeus by Peter Schaffer. He is the playwright. It is a play, not a novel, not a poem. Don't refer to it as such. It is not a short story. It is a play. So refer to him as the playwright or the author. Either one would be acceptable. There's a link there. There's a few pages that are not in the free version of the script. I have since added those for you to be able to click on and read. It's actually a very important scene where Salieri is talking about his relationship to God and making his bargain with God. So if you've listened to the Audible version, it's in there and you've heard it. And if you were following along with your script, you're probably like, wait, there's something missing. But I have now added those to your content. So if you want to go back over and read that, it's a pretty important scene, especially if you're talking about revenge and that sort of thing. Okay? 5 subjects, 5 themes that you can write about. Now remember, these are not values in and of themselves. They are themes. Messages about these themes would be values, like revenge. Maybe revenge might feel good in the moment, but ultimately is not satisfying. That would be a value, okay? Not just revenge. Okay, there's 4 of them. There's beauty, okay? And remember, in this play especially, you've got physical beauty that they talk about of the women. And they also have, excuse me, they also have the beauty of music, you know, especially church music, and how Salieri yearns and longs to be God's instrument on earth to glorify him. He says, you know, music is God's art. He takes music and the beauty of music very seriously. That's why he is able to recognize Mozart's genius when no one else really can. It's one of the things that frustrates him, that people love his music and he knows he's mediocre. And yet they don't like Mozart, and Mozart is a genius. So he feels like he's, you know, not worthy, and yet he gets this fame and all this other stuff. So that's what's frustrating Salieri, especially towards the end of the play, when he tries to kill himself but fails. It's kind of ridiculous. Duty and responsibility, okay? There's a lot of hierarchy of social order in this play. You've got emperors, you've got court composers, you've got Kapellmeisters who are above the court composers, you've got tutors, you've got a lot of hierarchy both in the music business, the social rankings, as well as in the family rankings. You know, Wolfgang doesn't want to do anything without his father's permission. Costanzi, his wife, keeps pushing him and insisting, you know, she's sort of like the head of the family because, admit it, he's like a child, you know. So there's other hierarchies to look at other than just the social hierarchies. And who do we have duty to? You know, Mozart takes vows when you get married, and so does his wife, and yet here she is standing on a table letting people measure her calves, which back then would have been scandalous. At this time, calves were supposedly really sexy. I don't know why I did that. But like it would be today the equivalent of someone measuring someone else's wife's breasts or their butt. It's very intimate. And he walks in on them doing it. But at the same time, she calls him out. You know, this is why you don't have any students, because you sleep with them all. So what's the duty? You know, she tries to have duty to her husband when she goes to see Salieri and takes the manuscripts. But then when she finds out what he expects in return, she kind of isn't having it. Yet she returns later to do that, and he's shocked and mortified that she would do this. And he kicks her out again, and she's very upset with him because she's, you know, duty to herself and her husband is to help do whatever she can, even though it might be outside their wedding vows, to maintain their survival almost. So yeah, there's different kinds of duty. There's duty to the emperor that they have. There's duty to the church, and there's duty to friends. There's duty to your spouse. So that would be something that you could research on as well in this play. The next one is responsibility, duty and responsibility. You can talk about both of those in tangent to each other or independently. What are our responsibilities? Are our responsibilities different from our duties? Or are they the same thing? You can determine that. Next is justice and injustice. If you're writing about Salieri's deal with God, then you're probably going to be writing about justice versus injustice. He thinks God treats him poorly and doesn't live up to his bargain. But when actually what he asked for is to be famous, not just, kind of pseudo-famous, but he wants to shine. He says, I think the line is, don't quote me, quote the play. I think the line is he wants to shine like a comet across the firmament. He wants Lady Gaga fame. He wants superpower fame, right? And during his time period, he achieves that. And yet he blames God for not holding up his end of the bargain when he sees his music diminishing later on in his life, even though at one time he was the most famous composer ever and had lots of money and gold and everything. And Mozart, as his is diminishing, Mozart's name and music is becoming more and more played and remembered, okay? And that drove him crazy. So the next one is betrayal. Yeah, there's a whole lot to write about regarding betrayal. Did God betray Salieri? Did Salieri betray God? Mozart betrays his wife. Does she betray him? Salieri betrays his wife. Do any of them ever betray the hierarchy of the court? That's for you to determine. That's something to write about. Were these betrayals ever punished? That's another thing to look at. Okay, and the last one is revenge. You get to choose which of these. You're not writing about all of them. I don't want one for each paragraph. You're going to write about one. And you can talk about different characters in different paragraphs or different events in the play that show different kinds of revenge or how revenge is portrayed or how these other themes are portrayed. But essentially, when you pick, you have to come up with a thesis statement regarding the message that Peter Schaffer is teaching us about your particular theme. Okay? Remember, writers write for many reasons, but for our class, we have to go under the assumption that writers write to teach us something about ourselves and our world. So what is it that Peter Schaffer is trying to teach us about beauty? Teach us about revenge. Teach us about justice and injustice. Teach us about responsibility and duty. Teach us about these huge subjects and our values towards them that we have developed over time that may be different from the values back when the play is set. May be absolutely the same. And you can comment on that. Okay? And don't forget, in your concluding paragraph, you're going to conclude something about what you think about Schaffer's message. Don't forget to include that. And, of course, your call to action and other things. So, Tito here, my piñata, says work very hard and email me if you need a Google Meet to discuss the play further, to discuss your essays, and I will be happy to discuss them with you. You should have your Essay 1 grades back, so let me know if you need to discuss those. And hopefully you guys will do great on this second essay. I want you to do well. I want to be able to help you, but I'm not a mind reader. I don't know. If we need to have a phone conversation, let's have the phone conversation. If you need to come by my office, we'll set up a live meet. If you need to Google Meet, we'll Google Meet. You have no excuse, okay? I've taken them all away. So good luck, and keep your questions coming and your emails. Good evening.